Yo. Alright.
A twisting of the male organ that makes the hormones in sperm. That's what came up when I Google searched testicular torsion. I was gonna pull it up on the computer, but there's a penis immediately. Just immediately. Hello everybody. Welcome back to the...
Say it again.
Okay, well we can just keep it going and...
Okay.
And just cut it. So, welcome back to the... When's the next mass genocide? The podcast. Yay. So, today we're going to be talking about whatever the fuck comes to mind. First thing that comes to mind for me is weddings, because I just came back from a best friend of mine's wedding. It was wonderful. It was also a wedding, though, so there were, things that were fucking shit. One of the things that comes to my mind is how people get really obsessed with making the bride and groom kiss, the whole thing where they dink the glasses. I never got that because like most of the people there are their family members, right? But it's like they get off to like make it fucking kiss each other, like. And I don't know. Dude. I don't know. Personally, I feel like I'd get fucking annoyed. Like, I don't know, usually kissing in public isn't something that people encourage, but I guess, in this scenario, it's fine.
You're at a wedding.
Yeah,
so
I mean, it's a thing.
You're getting married, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know.
It is a thing.
I just don't get it. What I mean...
Oh, shit, I don't get it at all.
I think...
So, like, what's the wedding story? Break it down for us.
Break it down? Well, okay, so I drove down there Friday. I was late. Because of some friends of mine. No, just kidding. Just kidding. It was cool. But I was late and had to stand outside the doors to the wedding awkwardly and look in through the window. And I felt too awkward to walk in.
How long was it? Was this only a Catholic wedding? How long was the shit? Because Catholic weddings are like an ordeal. 7 fucking years.
They definitely shrunk it down. It was like less than an hour, but it was still... It still felt like,
Could you hear it, or were you just looking through the window like a goddamn pedophile?
Well, both. I could hear it, but I still also probably looked like a pedophile. Because they had, like, a sound system and everything, and it kind of came through, and, I don't know, it was cool. I couldn't help but feel like the guy who, like, would run in and say, I object, though. Like, I feel like any of the family members that saw me outside pacing were, like, getting, like, nervous, like, oh, shit.
Yeah, they thought you were gonna shoot this shit up. Oh, that's Speaking of our fucking genocide podcast.
Yeah, oh, man, I don't know. It was interesting. There was one part, though, where they had to... I haven't seen this before, or maybe I just forgotten, but they had, like, a ceremonious, like, they lit, like, their candles.
Candle lighting? Yeah, that's pretty normal.
Okay, it's been a while. I used to go to a ton of weddings back in the day. I don't know, I think my parents just had a weird obsession for a couple summers, and then they just they quit it.
A hobby.
It was like, well, it was a weird, like, really absurd amount. Like, yeah, usually they come in, like, groups, weddings and, like, the family or something. But it was like 2 summers in a row we went to, like, 10 every summer. So it was like,
Jesus Christ.
Like, I don't know, my mom just, I don't know. It was strange. But anyways, so, yeah, there was a part where they were doing the candle lighting and stuff and had some music going on over it. And, I don't know, there was something awkward about it. When they started doing it, I physically laughed out loud. I'm glad that I was outside.
Why?
I don't know.
Why
it's because I knew who it was, and I knew that they always, like, really try to do music shit, and I knew they must have been... I don't know. I think it's just because I'm an asshole, basically. Because once it started and the music was going, it was actually really good. But
good show.
It was good. I was actually pretty happy that I was outside because I ended up pacing a lot.
Did you cry?
There was a couple tears. It was very.
There were a couple.
It was very beautiful. I'm not gonna lie.
I can see you like.
Dude.
I can see you out the window crying. They're like, this guy's gonna bust through the doors and be like, I object.
Long, like hopeless romantic. Everybody's just getting nervous.
Not even, just creepy ass dude that worked with her at fucking Super America or some shit.
Stared at her in class, from the back row.
From the back row. Who is this guy?
Only at the tits or some shit. Just the creepiest kind of obsession, Didn't care about anything but looking at it.
I object.
I object. Need to fuck that one.
Guy?
I know.
Who is this fucking guy?
Yeah, no, it was weird, but
crack the door every few minutes, take a sniff.
There was actually one moment where a lady and like her kid went back in, and I like went to grab the door to go in, but still was too awkward. So like I had my hand out to like grab it, and it just closed, and I stood there and then went back to pacing like a freaking weirdo. I don't know what it is. I'm just a.
Did you tell him?
I'm
Did
a
you
professional.
tell the guy that you were watching?
Ben?
Rafting?
Yeah, well, I wanted to tell him that I didn't
like
miss
fucking
it.
Quasimodo
Yeah.
from the fucking Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah, it was weird to phrase it in a way that didn't seem creepy, because I wanted to tell him that I made it, but, you know...
But I missed it.
But, like,
yeah,
you know,
he wouldn't
I
have
also-
even noticed, dude.
also
Except you
creeped.
might have noticed your ass pacing around out there.
Yeah, I actually remember at one point the bride saw me through the, like...
The window?
Yeah, which is when I've had that thought about the hopeless romantic. I'm like, I hope she doesn't think I had a crush on her in high school or anything, or this is going to be really, really weird time to have eye contact. Like, what are you doing out there? You better fucking stay away.
Stay away, you fucking creep. That's actually kind of hilarious.
Yeah, no, it was pretty fun. And then I remember after it ended, I had a bunch of my friends were the... well, I know they're called bridesmaids, but what are the groomsmen? Oh, God, I don't know why I couldn't think of that for so long. Anyways, I met up with them, and I was going to try and get a ride, because my brother took the van.
Of course.
Of course, right? And then, but all four of them hopped into the 4 seats of their car.
No.
And they're like, all right, we'll see you at the reception, man.
You're
And
like,
I'm just
I'm
like,
walking.
okay. And so I awkwardly walked out with all the family walking around, just like staring at the crowd again. Like,
They're like,
made
oh
me
my
look
God.
like a mass murderer.
You ever
again.
see the old school Hulk TV show from the 70s where Bruce
couple
Banner
times.
like walks on the side of the road, thumb up type of shit?
Yeah.
They're probably like the fucking creepy guy from the wedding who's staring from the outside, walking on the side of the highway to the reception.
Yeah. I'm sure they got a couple more mass murderer vibes from that, because it was like,
Yeah.
oh, look at this large amount of people gathered here.
Like he chickened out from murdering us, so thank God for that. Then you're at the reception, they're like, oh.
Yeah. But I was able to find a ride with a family member,
Okay.
a friend. Went to the reception. The reception had free booze, so it was
Pretty
solid. It's pretty solid.
Right on.
I decided to take up the role of the one guy who gets way too drunk. You know, have you?
That fucking guy?
There's always one guy, way too loud, just stumbling. I tried to get to that role, but another friend of mine was able to actually achieve it by the end of it, and we carried his ass home. That was wonderful.
Did you stay at a hotel or did you actually go home?
I stayed at a friend of mine's mom's place, which is funny
Nice.
because I told you how we carried a friend of mine out and threw him in the trunk, right? And then
You physically threw him in the trunk?
we carried him, put him in the trunk, and it was funny because there was actually an extra seat that we could have put him in, but just to shame him, we shoved him in the trunk, and I had to hold a plastic bag the whole time just in case he started hurling.
Oh my God.
But it was great to walk in through the door of Taylor's mom's house with his mom there waiting for us, and we carry him in, and she's like, oh geez.
Oh God.
That was wonderful.
I did that shit a couple times, but I never at like weddings.
Yeah.
It was like,
It's a whole new dynamic when it's a wedding. It's even more awkward.
it's like, Dad, quick, we need a bucket of ice. This guy's about to die.
Yeah.
Oh, this dude's like on the verge of death. He drank so much. Don't worry, no one's gonna die in your house, hopefully. Oh my gosh, that's kind of funny. Speaking of booze, I can tell you, I was in Minneapolis a while back ago with my friend Reed, and we were kind of just bumming. We were just bumming, waiting for some people, and
Right.
we ended up sitting on the side of this building, and this homeless guy wandered up and said, hey dude, you want to split a 40? Like, just give me like $1 and a cigarette, and I'll just go get a fucking
Totally
40.
normal thing to ask.
We're like, all right, this dude's never coming back. We'll give him $1 to go away.
Right, sure.
Like 20 minutes later, I'm like, yeah, I don't think he's coming back with that 40. All of a sudden, this motherfucker rolls around the corner. We're like, he's coming back. So we split a 40 with this fucking homeless guy, and he starts telling us how he's defending himself in court and how he's going to totally lie to his public defender. We're like, I thought you were defending yourself, bro. Why do you have a public defender? What's that about? He's like, bro, I told my public defender I'm going to lie to him. I'm like, okay, what the fuck? This makes his job a little harder.
Yeah.
But then he starts talking, and he's like, so, you know what's fucked up? And we're like, what? And it's like, Germany has a soccer team, but they've also got prisoners of war. What's up with that? It's like,
what does that have to do with each
yeah,
other?
we're like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, we were so fucking confused, and this dude's like smoking a cigarette, like shaking his head. He's like, "You don't fucking understand." It's like, yeah, we don't, because it makes no fucking sense what you're talking about. I'm sure they do got prisoners of war, but they could probably also afford a fucking soccer team. It's not the, I get it, but I don't know who's Germany even at war with right now. Like, let's say 1940s. You think he's still like America has some POWs from like
maybe
1940s, like some
old
ass man.
Is that even true though?
No, probably not.
Probably, yeah. I don't know why.
They probably either released him or fucking threw him in jail forever for war crimes, depending on what they did.
If they're there, it's probably for good reasons.
Yeah, if you're still in jail, for crimes you committed 70 years ago, it's probably for good reasons. It's probably like burned some Jews or something, if I'm being honest. 95 years old, sitting there in fucking some sort of POW camp. I'm like, it's not a huge deal. And they got a soccer team,
Yeah, and of course, when thinking about prisoners
of war,
the first
it's
thing
like
that I
soccer
think of is
team.
soccer.
Yeah, and then the dude started telling us, he's like, hey, I didn't even commit any hard crimes. It's just like I got caught shooting heroin. It's like, all right, so
that'll do it.
I was sketched this whole time. Then we're like, all right, dude, peace out. We'll see you later. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, please, this guy doesn't come behind us with a knife. It's like, I need the 40s, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to stab you in the back on this one, but I need my fucking 40-ounce liquor, dude.
Did we ever talk about Vlad?
Vlad Constantine?
The fucking man himself.
So this is actually kind of near where we were.
Yeah.
We went to Stone Arch Bridge after that, me and Reed.
Oh, you
and
did,
we smoked weed under this bridge. The Stone Arch Bridge, the big
yes.
big bridge.
It's got stone in the name, so it's good. Good place.
So we're smoking weed under there, and these guys came down. This is a side note, side story of our other Stone Arch adventure, these guys come down there, and they're looking for this thing. Apparently there's some thing where if you like find the hidden treasure, they give you $100 cash, like some app. But Reed thought they were talking about the broken down cave. He's like, you want to go the other way. And the lady's like, are you sure? And he's like, bro, just go the other way. That's where it is. And I'm like, what was that all about? How do you know what she's talking about? He's like, I think she's talking about the broken down cave. I'm like, why would some fucking old ass lady, fucking like 60-year-old woman want to go to the broke down cave? And he's like, bro, that's where everybody who goes down here is trying to go. And then some black dude that was like really awkward dude, like it might have been gay. Really short to the point where it's like any shorter is testicles.
Enough reason for you to think that he was gay.
Yeah, enough that I thought he was homosexual. But he tells us, he's like, you can actually win $100 if you find that thing. Have you found the treasure? We're like, bro, we're just trying to get cheeched out down here. So no, we didn't actually look. We haven't found it. And he's like, if you find it, that's worth like $100. You can make some serious money. And I'm like, $100 for a sit on my fucking ass, dude. You can go find that with fucking 700 other people looking for it. I'm gonna sit here, get blazed as fuck. So that's what I did. And anyways, so our other Stone Arch story, actually pretty close to where we were. We cut off on the trail. This is with Lake, actually. And we met a short, fat man named Vlad Constantine.
All I can remember is that he walked up to me and he's like,
do you want to smoke some dabs?
Yeah, you want to smoke some dabs?
You want to take some Molly and fucking take some acid and like snort some coke and shit? Yeah, and it's like, all right, this fucking dude's apparently the plug. But then
I've had every hard
he tells us his name is Vlad Constantine, so I'm sorry if if Vlad Constantine was telling us if he gets caught he's breaking parole. I really don't believe his name's actually Vlad Constantine.
That's epic as fuck, but I really doubt it.
If somehow your parole officer's listening to our terrible podcast, I'm sorry, Vlad. If you go to like jail for like 20 years, curse our fucking names. He's like, who were those guys? But he won't remember us because he was so fucking coked out and smoked that it's like we're good. But that was Vlad Constantine.
That guy was legendary. He had the hat with all the pins on it.
Yeah, like My Little Pony, Pickle Rick. The works.
Like the pickle. He had the Boba Fett. Was that Pickle Rick?
Boba Fett, Pickle Rick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was crazy, man.
He was an
Vlad
interesting
was an
fella.
interesting man.
Telling us about bobbing and LSD.
Yeah, liquid LSD apple bobbing. I'm like, that sounds very expensive. Kind of dangerous. Like, what happens if that shit splashes in your eyes? I don't know, but that sounds like a hell of a trip, apparently.
You think Vlad would have been the hookup for some DMT?
Easily could have got some DMT from Vlad, dude. Vlad probably could have hooked us up with meth, heroin, mostly, but I bet he could probably also get us DMT if we tried.
I'm sure if he didn't have the drug on him, he had somebody he could call.
Yeah,
and
no,
drive
I
up.
felt kind of uncomfortable even being near Vlad because
That
it's
was
like
the fun
if
for me.
if Vlad pulls, like the cops pull up and they're like, Vlad Constantine, you're on parole. And like he's like, I only got heroin and meth on me, and cocaine, and Valium, and fucking marijuana.
Copper, you wanna dab, bro? Put your hands behind your back.
Yeah, he would. He'd be like, no, don't do it. We'll just like snort some cocaine and it'll all be good. Like,
oh my
shit.
god, bro.
Yeah, Vlad Constantine was an interesting man. I did some interesting stuff. I met a lot of people at Stone Arch Bridge. That was the big, when the Pokemon Go craze was going on, we'd go to Stone Arch all the time, blazed as fuck, and just play some Pokemon Go. But then
wandering around.
and that's when like 1,000 people would be out there at once playing Pokemon Go. Like everyone, the cops would be like, "Quit playing that damn Pokemon Go!" The cops would harass you about playing Pokemon Go.
fictional animals.
You kids and your fucking Pokemon. It's like, fuck you. You don't understand the hype. You don't understand that this is the greatest game ever, and nobody's ever gonna quit Pokemon Go. I'm gonna get in shape because I play so much Pokemon Go and I walk around all fucking day. I'm gonna lose 150 pounds so that my fat ass is no longer 370.
I love all the stories of people wandering into restricted areas trying to get rare Pokemon.
Oh my
And
god.
getting, like,
But the other
arrested
thing
by the
is it was
police.
like Mall of America too. That was pretty hype for Pokemon Go because
Yeah.
like everybody's like, I'm gonna set up a Pokestop. So walk 3 feet, rob out the Pokestop, find some Pokemon. I caught so many fucking Pokemon at MON. It's like constantly like Ultra Balls. It's like sick, you know. And then by the time we made the whole round around the mall, the old Pokestops you already hit were all refreshed. So it'd be like, all right, we're gonna just waste like a good 7 fucking hours here playing Pokemon Go.
And that's usually
And
the
then like a
goal,
week
go to the
later,
mall.
I think like a week later, I actually just like deleted the app because I was like, "Fuck this stupid ass game."
I really can't get into that game. Anytime I
Well,
play
now
or
apparently
interact
they've
with people who
updated
play
it and it's good again. But
yeah, but
it's, like,
still not. I just rather just play Pokemon. Like,
Yeah, 'cause
and then
Pokemon's
not
a
have
good
to go
game.
outside. I mean, it's like a
You
continue
don't
my
have to
lazy
go
bum
outside.
lifestyle.
You could be in the nice air conditioned Mall of America, dude.
Yeah, true. I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it took them like 2 years to add trading. You know, the essential mechanic of the video
Game,
games.
yeah, and
That's
like
genius.
especially where it's just collecting.
Yeah.
Basically.
It's fucking stupid.
No, it was pretty boring. Also, I remember we'd drive pretty slow around like Forest Lake and shit, and just drive by Pokemon as we went. That was pretty.
Collect them all, but remember, some Pokemon are restricted to other countries, so you're never actually going to.
Yeah, it's like, alright, if I want to break into this, like, I'm like climbing a barbed wire fence because I see fucking Pidgey on the other way. Like, I already got like 7
Pidgey!
Pidgeys, but this Pidgey's
The
more
fuck over here,
important to me. This Pidgey's more important to me, so I'm gonna break onto federal property. It's
Risk
like,
my life.
the Oval Office is a fucking Pokestop if you think you can get there. I'm literally full camouflage in the middle of the night trying to storm it.
They-
2
they-
Pokeballs.
They need to have a legendary spawn right in the middle of the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Like,
Right, in the
people are
restricted area.
choppering over and just get shot down. That'd be great.
100 1,000.
wanted to get Lugia.
40 stories under the Pentagon, the president's bomb shelter. There's a Pokestop. 3 Pokeballs and a Pidgey.
Oh, hell yeah, I'm out of Pokeballs. I need some. Let's go.
Let's break it the Pentagon.
That's a good idea, though. Putting some Pokestops at, the worst places
Just like
possible.
legendary spawn points and shit. I remember the boss rushes would be like at like Stone Arch, there'd be like 1,000 people there, and it's like, all right, we're gonna smoke this boss. But then like I think the boss must have got proportionally better or something, or maybe I just sucked because I never got the legendary.
I never really made it that far with that game. It
No.
was minimally interesting.
I used to play it at work and shit. My boss would get so pissed. He'd be like, you guys can't be playing Pokemon. We'd be like at the trash compactor. Then like the big boss would be coming in. You'd have your phone on the side. You'd be like, oh yeah, bro, I'm just like just chilling out. But like low key, you're like flipping Pokeballs at the shit while you're talking to him. It's like, what you doing? It's like, nothing. Just like launching some Pokeballs, trying to catch this fucking rare ass legendary. What you think?
God damn it. So, bro,
Yu-Gi-Oh VR.
Yu-Gi-Oh! VR. What? Yu-Gi-Oh! You think there needs to be Yu-Gi-Oh! VR?
Yes, dude.
I need to be able to look
Have
through
you
my
seen
phone
the
and
AR
see the dual
tournament
disc
match
on
where
my...
the guys were in
on my
like
arm?
full fucking cosplay playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And they were like
Oh,
actually
yeah.
spanking up the cards.
They had the animations and shit.
Yeah.
God damn it. Oh, I love how Yu-Gi-Oh! Embraces the, well, for lack of a
The
better word,
retardation.
autism.
Yeah.
For real though. I mean, I'm into it too, to a certain degree, but Jeebus, some of that shit is incredibly cringy.
A-class autism there.
Yeah, it is. Oh god. I don't know what ruined me more, card games or video games. Oh, there was only one.
Video
card
games, dude. It was just, for me, it was like Yu-Gi-Oh! I had Pokemon cards as a kid, but that was just like, I like seeing them. I looked at them.
Right.
I looked at them as a kid.
I was that asshole kid that would try to play card games with friends at a young age, and nobody knew the rules, and I'd get all butthurt about it. I'd be like, you guys don't know what you're doing!
No.
But then I found out years later that I really didn't know either. So
I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was probably like 4. Is when the Yu-Gi-Oh! Hype started. This is like 2002, I remember. And my mom was like, these cards are satanic. It's like, oh, fuck you, Mom. Then I'd take them to like preschool and we played at war style. It's like, my monster's 1700, so you can't kill it. It's like, alright. So.
Yeah, that's how the game works.
And then it was basically like, you got the full stack, so it's like, too bad that my collection's bigger than yours, because now you're ass fucked.
I wonder like, how many energies and trainer cards were just tossed in the trash by kids.
Oh, it's like, oh, no.
Like, oh, damn it, a potion.
No, I had a fucking bag of crumpled up fucking... But, dude, I remember we found the original Mewtwo booster box. Like, I'm sure that shit's probably worth quite a bit now, but, like, this is, like, a couple years ago. We found it at, like, a garage sale, and it's like, I want to open these puppies up. So we opened them up, and just, like, I don't even know what happened to all the cards. I think we stuffed them back in, but, like, in retrospect, I'm like, these cards are probably, like, if we sold it online... Yeah. Probably could have copped a good like $250 instead of just opening it once, being like cool and like tossing it onto the side of the room.
The next thing.
And it's like a perfectly conditioned sealed, like everything was great, and then it's like, how the fuck did A, we find this, B, were we so stupid that we were like nowhere in our minds did we think, even I was probably like 17 and Aiden was like 20 at the time, we in no way thought it would be dumb as fuck to open the cards that were probably worth like couple $100.
I'm sure that's the case.
Because we bought it for like $3. Like I don't know how old the Mewtwo like starter box is, but it had to have been worth something. Probably. Even just like a sealed old ass Pokemon card box, even if it was like on the lower side of expensive, like just knowing what Yu-Gi-Oh cards go for, where it's like 2005 tin that everybody had $57. It's like.
Did you have the Pokemon trading card game video game as a kid?
No, I didn't actually.
Oh, fucking loved that game. That game was awesome.
Wasn't it kind of like an RPG and then you walked around?
Yeah, you went around, built your decks. They actually had like gyms you had to beat too.
Actually, cool. You want to hear my most fucked up birthday? I was, this is when I got the Yu-Gi-Oh game for Game Boy Color. Because Yu-Gi-Oh also had to capitalize on it, kind of did a similar thing. So I was watching Dexter's Laboratory. I remember pretty specifically. I smacked my head on the toilet. I actually still have the scar to this day right here.
What?
Yeah.
Why'd you smack your head on the toilet?
Because I ran in. I slipped on the toilet, like carpet in front of it, smacked my head on it. And while I was at the hospital on my birthday getting my face stapled back together, my aunt's like, well, the party's kind of canceled, so here's your birthday gift from me. You can play this while you're in the hospital. So I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! On my Game Boy Advance. It was pretty cool. And then they're like, oh, also your great grandma just died. I was like kind of a kick in the teeth there. It's like, oh, a savage, dude.
To go along with your physical pain.
To go along with your physical pain and ruined birthday. I'm like, I don't even care. I got the Yu-Gi-Oh game for Game Boy Color. It's like, fuck you, great grandma.
You can't have happiness.
In fairness, I probably only met my great grandma a few times. Didn't even remember then because I was like 5. Just turned 5 that day. So it was like 5 or 6 or whatever. But
your mom probably told you you were playing your game and you're just like, don't even look up. Oh
no, I think they told me when we were leaving, like after like I got my face stapled up. It took about 4 hours because you had to go to the emergency room, which always just takes forever. They're like, oh, this kid's only bleeding from the face. Like
should be fine.
He should
Could be worse.
But no,
suck it up, kid.
No, yeah, I don't remember. I don't know how much it affected me. I don't remember that part. I do specifically remember Dexter's Laboratory, smacking my face and getting the Yu-Gi-Oh game. Still have that cartridge to this day. I think it's awful because it doesn't follow the rules. Game Boy Color Yu-Gi-Oh, like the old school. I think it might be the first. I think it's like the first one, which is actually cards.
Yeah, I have not even heard of that.
Because they had Capsule Monsters or whatever before.
There was a game for that?
Yeah, there was a game before Yu-Gi-Oh was even a card game for PS1.
Oh, what?
Yeah, before it was a card game and it was just a manga and it was like just random ass games. It was like a board game style. And it had like some of the classic cards, like Gearfried, and like a lot of the original expansion shit was other shit from the manga.
Huh.
And then they were like, well, it's also in Yu-Gi-Oh card form. And then they did the card arc, and the cards got really fucking big, and that's pretty much how it's been.
I remember when I got the Pokemon trading card game. It was a gift from one of my grandparents. My grandpa gave a Game Boy game to each me and my brother. Well, no, but he gave Parker Pokemon Yellow, right? And I got the Pokemon trading card game video game.
That's like the classic fucking birthday for me.
But I was like, he got an actual Pokemon game. I got the card game video game. What the fuck is this shit? But then it was actually pretty dope. So whatever.
I remember my grandparents the year I got Leaf Green when that first came out, and they tricked me where they had like I opened like 6 things and just like socks. They bought me a shitload of like socks and underpants. I'm like, this is fucking gay. Then they're like, here's one more, and it's Leaf Green. I'm like, oh my god, because at that point I just had Ruby, and I probably put like, I think I have like 400 hours in the Leaf Green as a kid, and then like I never deleted my account for Ruby or Leaf Green. I did restart like Sapphire a few times and shit, but like my 2 OG Pokemon games I never restarted. And Leaf Green, I did slightly better with, but like straight up, my Ruby was retarded because my Sceptile, I remember its moves specifically: Strength, Rock Smash, Flash, and then it's like one of the other really shitty like Strength or something. Like one of the other really shitty like
cut.
Like he sucks. And then ironically, I got a level 2 Zigzagoon up to 100 Linoon,
nice.
And he knows headbutt, still knows tackle, quick attack. It's like the fucking crappiest. I still love looking through that game. I never got a third Pokemon to level 100 in that shit because even when I was like 6 or 7 and I was looking back at the game, I'm like, I honestly sucked balls at Pokemon really badly as a kid. Really youngster. But I still have those files. Each one has like 600 hours. It's like, how do I have 0 level 100s but these guys? I didn't catch Groudon or any of the like major. I think the only legendary I caught was Moltres in the other ones because I used to be a serial runner. So I probably like saw Mewtwo and was like, run.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure that the Emerald version of Pokemon, along with RuneScape, made my parents. Well, I know it did. Made them restrict video games for me as a kid.
God.
I think it was those two that really did it. Cause
everybody played RuneScape. Emerald was probably the first Pokemon game I did.
That's the first game I remember getting.
Because I got all the legendaries in Emerald that you could catch. I had Blaziken at level 100 with decent moveset. Some shit that doesn't make much sense. Like I think I still got double kick, but I got like Blaze kick, flamethrower, and then what's that other move that's like flame blitz
Fire
or whatever,
Blast
fire
or
blitz or something, where it's like 1 to 5.
Blaziken one.
Yeah.
Oh, the star.
I never did
Fire
like
Blast,
stat moves as a kid. Obviously, like too boring.
You just grind more. Eventually, your shit moves will kill them.
Yeah, exactly. Eventually, like double kicks, like taking out like Elite Four guys.
Yeah, no. When I was in school as a kid, my parents restricted. We couldn't play video games on the weekday because, and I think it was because of Pokemon Emerald and RuneScape, because it was rotting our brains or whatever.
Me and Aiden share the Switch I bought at Target, but I'm gonna buy a new Switch and I'm gonna have to keep it low key until I beat the game. But I'm buying the new Kanto Remake 2s. Aiden's so butthurt. He's like, if you buy those, I'm gonna punch your teeth out. It's like, okay, bro, chill out, because I know they're gonna be garbage. I know I'm probably not gonna like it that much, but I'm gonna buy it.
You filthy casual.
And I'm gonna catch every Pokemon humanly possible until I get really bored of playing and quit, which is what happens in all of them. Like, Moon, I got Moon not recently, but like 2 years ago.
I did not like those.
I didn't love them, but I have about 400 of like the 800 Pokemon or whatever. I got all Gen 1 Pokemon, all Gen 2. I got like halfway through Gen 3, and then it was fucking like Chime Bell or whatever, where it's like, first off, it's uncommon as balls. Then I got to transfer it over, and I'm like, no, I don't care. I'm done.
It just was way too much of that fucking lame-ass story in that goddamn game.
Yeah, and it was like, I didn't really care for the 5 tribe bosses. And then it took forever to level them up. And then I was like, okay, I'll just grind on the Elite Four. But the Elite Four was A, hard, and B, gave you no XP. I'm like, savage. Like, if it's going to be a harder Elite... Well, it wasn't like a hard Elite Four, but a harder Elite Four. It's like, if you're going to make a harder Elite Four, don't make it like this. And then there's one good grinding zone in the entire game, which was before its equivalent to like the Battle Royale. I don't remember what that was called. And I got like 25 level 100s in that game, but I just was like, like I did so much grinding in this one zone and all sorts of like egg hatching and shit, and finally I was like, no, I can't play anymore.
Honestly,
I got 2 level 100 Typhlosions and 2 level 100 Blastoises.
My favorite part of that game was the fucking beans. I just liked shaking the trees or whatever and getting the beans, and that really, I liked that for some reason. It was the most boring thing in the game.
Oh yeah.
Or the most boring thing, but that's just how lame the
it kinda
game was.
pisses
That
me
it was
off
like my
that we're
favorite.
not getting a real Pokemon yet. It's gonna be like another year.
I don't think
but
we're gonna
I'm
get a
kinda
real
cool with-
Pokemon ever again, in my opinion. Are they bringing gyms back? I
Yeah,
like gyms.
I think there are
I don't
gyms
want
in the
to
new
fight
one,
just
but
boosted wild Pokemon and then get a diamond. I don't.
yeah, that
fucking
was
care.
fucking stupid. Where it's
Really
like, you fight this guy, but you can't attack him until.
And the mechanic
gotta
they
kill
added where
him
they
and
call
kill
for
like
help
20
is
others.
only annoying. It is not
Only,
fun.
yeah.
It's just annoying.
Well, I don't mind when it's like a random wild encounter, but when you're
I
fighting
really
this
mind then,
beefed-ass
because
one-
it's like, because then I'm just want to kill and go on with my fucking
or
life.
if you're trying to like catch it and you start throwing a Pokeball,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
and you
miss,
can't.
and it's like call 5 other Pokemon.
Yeah, because you
It's
can't
like,
catch them
okay.
if there's multiple.
But then you gotta kill them single too. You gotta kill each one single because you
And if
can't.
you're trying to
like,
catch
I
it, it's
can't do
super
like
annoying.
Surf or something because I'm gonna just wipe the whole field
Yep.
or anything like that. Like any of those moves. I think there's Petal Dance or something also hits them all.
And if you're really trying to catch the Pokemon too, you have one of your weaker ones out there so you don't accidentally kill it, you know. And then they spawn extra ones, and it's like, okay, what do I switch
No,
in? You know,
switch
waste
in.
another turn, but then it's like, oh, then I'm just
The
gonna
only
wipe
nice
the
thing
board.
about that is for
stupid.
shiny grinders. Because
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that like every time you add more, it increases your chance. But I never really cared to find shinies because half the time, like I'd find shinies randomly. Like I probably had like 5 shiny encounters over like my course of playing Pokemon, but I never like fished for it. Like I know I could fish for it in like 2 hours, have a couple shinies, but.
Mm-hmm.
But fuck that. First shiny I caught was Shiny Ponyta, which is a dope one. There's some of them where it's like, it's a slightly darker shade of red. It's like, fuck you. But Shiny Ponyta was dope because it had like the blue flame instead of the orange and red.
Isn't that like an actual like Pokemon now? They made the like Alola region Ponyta.
Not
that's-
for Ponyta.
Oh, was
They
it?
have Vulpix.
Oh, it was
went
Vulpix.
blue.
Yeah, that shit's kind of.
I liked the Alolas. I thought that was kind of cool, but I was kind of pissed they only did Gen 1. It's like Mega Evolutions only support Gen 1.
Yeah.
Basically, and the Alola versions only support Gen 1, but I thought it was cool they actually had the designer from Gen 1 come back and do the Alolas. I thought all the Alola forms were cool, so when I went through and caught all the Pokemon, I had the originals that I transferred out from different games, and then I had the Alola versions.
That's pretty sick.
Because I'm autistic. And then I also had Mega forms, so like I would have one with like a Mega Egg, and it would be like, this Charizard's separate, but it's also, you know, but yeah. And I had 2 level 100 Typhlosions and 2 level 100 Blastoises because I'm like, Typhlosion and Blastoise are like some of my favorite Pokemon. So I leveled them up in the game, and then I got, because you could actually transfer up from the original games if you bought them from the e-store, like blue and shit. So then I did blue and silver, got both of those to level 100. I'm like, oh shit, well now I have fucking 2 level 100 Blastoises and 2 Typhlosion level 100s, which is kind of shitty, but...
Did you ever play any of the hacked versions of Pokemon, like the emulators?
Yeah, well, I actually bought a couple of those on cartridges, because people actually transfer them to cartridges. I'm actually pretty big in getting, like, homebrews and hacks. Not big into it, but I got a few. Like, I got the fucking Earthbound... I got the original 2 Mothers on a Game Boy Advance cart ROM. Then I got Mother 3 translated on another Game Boy ROM.
Damn.
Which is kind of cool, because Nintendo refuses to release that normally. And I really want to get around to beating that trilogy. I've just been lazy, mainly. Right now, I'm playing Mafia 3. It's an alright game. The only problem with Mafia 3 is you can play it for like 20 hours of gameplay, and then it's like, okay, well, now what have I achieved? Going around shooting people, and then going to next place and shooting people. The thing I liked about Mafia 2 is it had a lot of like set pieces, and there were like points where it wasn't just like shoot people, it was like a cutscene of you killing a guy, and now you have to like transfer the body, and then it starts raining, and the radios only play like sad music because you go to the edge of town, and it's like, this is legitimately getting me to like suicidal level depression right now. Like, holy shit. Then it's like, we gotta bury the dead body, and it's like, he was a friend of mine, Beto. Yeah. And then you got this little kid that follows you. He's not like a little kid, he's like 16 or something, but he gets shot to death by the greasers. Then it's like, we have to bury out his body, and then like your house burns down. It's like, I guess I'm living in his apartment now, and it's like, oh my god. Yeah. And it's like pictures of his mom on the wall and shit. It's like,
I remember like
sad.
the short amount of time I watched you playing that. There was the mission where you had to go and kill the dude that like betrayed you, And then the scene right after that is you talking to him while
and
he's
he's
dying.
like crying.
And he's all really crying, but I remember he's crying and he's like, take care of my daughter or whatever. And then you like
tell my wife I love her. Then
and
you
then
go
you
to the
go-
wife and she's like, I still like you.
and you're like
what?
Because it's all this like really dramatic, well acted scene, right? And then you go over after that to go talk to the
And
wife
it's
or
not
daughter,
even like a
and
cut
she's like,
scene, it's just like
she's like,
voiced
God
over.
damn it, you killed him. Oh well. You know,
I still
basically.
need the money now
Yeah,
more than ever.
and then she's like,
partners,
"Well,
so.
we're still partners," and then life goes on. Just
Yeah,
shows
basically.
no emotion whatsoever.
I think it's
wonderful.
dumb they brought Joe back because at the end, your only friend that survives the entire game until the end is Joe, and then like you're like the getaway car, but then like they like betray him and then they take Joe off and they're like gonna murder him.
Mhm.
Then Vito like does like a voiceover and he's like, and then my only friend was murdered. It's like holy fuck.
Jesus.
And he's like, that's the life of crime. But the first scene's super cool because you're in like World War II and you're like shooting people. I love Mafia 2. It's so much better than Mafia 3. And I like Mafia 3. It's kind of fun, but it is a lot more like Grand Theft Auto style where it's like go to place and shoot people. Although Mafia 3 does a little better about not just meandering around like in Grand Theft Auto 5 where it's like, all right, now you got to tow trucks for 30 minutes. It's like, okay, this is a cool 30 minutes I don't want to play. That's why I've never beaten Grand Theft Auto 5. Like, I've had that game on Xbox. I've had that game on PS3. I'd get, like, 4 hours in both times. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of sick of I know it gets cooler later, but I'm like, I don't really want to just be, like, towing around cars and shit and whatever for half the fucking game.
That doesn't sound like a fun thing to do in a video game.
No, it's really gay.
I have an important philosophical question to ask you, Connor.
What's that?
Are you a scruncher or a folder?
What do you mean?
When you go to wipe your ass and you grab the
Oh.
toilet paper, do you like scrunch it into a ball or do you fold it over
Fold
each
it
other?
meticulously?
You know,
No, I
what?
just scrunch it into a ball, wipe my ass, throw it in the toilet.
You're a
and
scruncher. Yeah, you
Flush.
fucking
Just
savage.
enough that I do just enough paper that I don't get shit on my hands, you know, don't get the smell or
Oh,
nothing.
I like doing that. I like to be as efficient as possible with the toilet paper. Like, I only need.
Well,
like,
the problem with
this much.
folding is you can still bust it, or you might get your hand where it's a bad grip, and all of a sudden there's poopy on your hands.
Yeah, that is the
Fecal
goal.
matter.
Avoid getting some poopy on your fingers, your fingies. I like folding.
Why do they do it in square? I mean, I guess it makes it easier to break off at the end, but the worst is when you're like, you like pull and then you accidentally like rip it in half, and it's like, okay, so now I got two wads I got to connect together, and
Or I hate when it's like the 2-ply, but it's a really shitty 2-ply where they like separate and you pull on one and it just splits in half down, and you're just like, fuck. Okay, well I guess I'll take off the one and the other and then fold them
I'm
both
surprised
together.
Walmart's 60-cent prison paper is as efficient as it is, because I just buy the prison paper because it's way cheaper than Charmin. Although the
Fucking
one thing I
sandpaper on
hate
your
is
ass.
that like every time we run out of paper towels, Parker will spill like a glass of water on the floor and like steals my toilet paper.
There's
Then I'm
always
shitting
water
and
on
it's
the
like, oh my
floor.
god, where's my toilet paper? Then there's like 3 rolls, like a pyramid in the fucking basement. And Parker's like, oh,
It was
just
like a
fucking
trap
just
in the
wipe
dark
up my
days,
fucking-
bro.
In the dark
In
days,
the
it was
dark
such a
days.
trap. It's like it's dark, and then you like flash your flashlight over, and you it's nothing on the counter. But dude, I think Parker might have wiped his ass with a couple of my towels or something. Somebody did.
Oh, was there poopy on the towels?
I think so.
And some brown spots?
Yes.
Maybe somebody picked up some rain shit with the towels? Because, I mean, like, you know,
I could see
sometimes
Joey
there's-
being like, Connor's towel, might as well use it.
Fucking hate him. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm like, alright, thanks.
Just out of spite. Yeah, that's possible.
Somebody did, I don't know.
Empty bottle of Kraken sitting over here, man.
There's 3 empty bottles of Kinky Flame right here, cinnamon flavored whiskey. Also, I know where all my forks are. Parker's always like, where's all the forks? I want to eat ramen with it. And then I look at every ramen cup and there's like 3 empty ass.
Parker's a real problem with putting shit away.
Yes, I know, and there's like fucking empty ass cans and shit all over the deck, and he's like, I'm just gonna kick this into the yard. It's like, oh, I'll meet you again once I decide to mow the lawn. See you again.
So, bro, let's talk about Godzilla.
Godzilla.
Yeah, fuck yeah, Godzilla. Godzilla's
I love
sick.
Godzilla.
I love Godzilla. I don't know exactly why
Here's
I
my
like
problem
Godzilla.
with Godzilla movies. The ones that meander for like the first half of the movie, especially like the newer ones. Like my favorite ones are like 60s, 70s era
Yes.
Godzilla when they're like, we'll just go full retard with our
Yes.
our thing, which is originally supposed to be like a deep metaphor on like nuclear testing and shit. And then they're like, actually, Godzilla has a baby boy and they're running around an island and he's dancing and doing like karate kicks. Then Ultraman flies out of nowhere and they get in a fist fight. Then he like spins Godzilla by his tail and throws him a half mile. It's like, the fuck is going on?
It's like most of the time it's like you're you're waiting for them to fight, but I love it because the like choppy acting and the shitty translations just it brings
I also
joy to
like
my
how the
heart.
villain's always like the most stereotypical. Like he's got like some anime haircut and like a goatee, and he's like, "I want to kill Spider-Man. We can rule this city, Spider-Man." Like fuck your William Dafoe Asian ass, dude. I love the voiceovers too. How it's like never on sync.
It would be wrong.
Dude, so
if it
far
was
with
right.
the American Godzilla movies, I'm not referring to the. I want to say Brendan Fraser, but I mean Ferris Bueller movie. I'm not counting that.
Yeah,
That movie,
what's his
I
name?
loved that movie as a kid, but I'm referring to like the 2014 ones. I thought 2014 movie and Kong Skull Island both were pretty awful, honestly, and
I
not
did
in
not
a good
see
way.
Kong Skull Island, but I did see the other one, and
Shin
was alright.
Godzilla was kind of good, and a
cool.
lot of the Godzilla movies are good, but now they're like kind of like we can't do as campy. Like Godzilla's got to do shit, and it's like
yeah, and that is like half the fun.
yeah, that's why I really like the Gamera movies, because the first one's like, we'll rip off the original Godzilla, and then with like the sequels, they're like, we'll just go full retard
Yes.
and like reuse costumes, slightly repainted. It's like Gamera flies into space and fights the 3 of the guy he fought in the last movie because we still got these suits left over and we need action scenes. And then they have like the song "We Believe in Gamera."
He has like a theme
We
song.
believe in Gamera.
Oh.
They sing it all the Asian kids.
Yes.
We believe in Gamera. He's a flying turtle and he spins around on fire. Dude,
It's epic.
he shoots fire out of all of his sides and flies around like a
Who the
UFO.
fuck thought of that shit? If they weren't on drugs or like 6, you know, I'd be very surprised. If the
I don't
guy
know,
was
dude.
a
I don't
businessman, like here's a great. I got a
You
good
know
pitch.
what I love?
Turtle
I love the
shoots out
OG
flames.
fucking Power Rangers shows. Like as a kid, not as a kid, like as a grown adult when I started watching Power Rangers,
Yeah.
I was like, I want to make one of these where it's like literally like what they do is they like pose it up and then they fight like a million of those blob guys and they pose it up some more and jump into their super spaceships.
The
Like,
villains
Johnny, quick, get into the big guy, and then they start running around and like kicking the fuck out of like a giant monster, and it's like this is how cinema should be done.
They had such like they really had visions for those like villains.
No,
There's so much
yeah.
shit going on.
It's like the blob shit monster. He's a blob, but he's also a piece of shit.
Alien, spiny, fucking, but yet humanoid
He's
creature.
a monster. Get this, he's a monster, and he's spooky.
But he knows English.
He knows English, and then Rita Repulsor comes up and it's horribly fucking dubbed. And then they fucking fight like Biff and Jerry or something in the fucking cafe. I like how the show's like, okay, it's like 3 parts. There's like the Godzilla like giant mech. I'm going backwards here, but
Yeah.
giant mech at the end every time, half stock footage. Then there's the Power Rangers posing around fighting people in gray spandex.
Yes.
And then there's the Saved by the Bell scenes where they're like, we can't have that's what I love about the OG one is the like straight up Saved by the Bell. Like I'd never really watched the later Power Rangers, but the OG ones, like, let's meet at the mall
You guys
shop.
go to
And
the
then,
burger
like, Biff
shop
comes in
after
and
class?
like, you're a fucking bully, and then they'd like fight. But then like but like I don't know, like I know the OG Super Sentai was different. I wonder if they had like freaking donut shops, you know what I'm saying? Like rice cake factories. Or something. Then,
Quote
we
unquote
can't dub
donut
this shit
shops.
out.
Yeah.
we can't dub this shit out, so we're just gonna like Zach Powers Saved by the Bell this bitch. And then I also like how the Yellow Ranger in the original Yellow Ranger was a man, but they're like, we need 2 women to appeal to a wider demographic, so then they made it a woman, but it's like clearly in the spandex a dude in there. But yeah, then there was the Power Ranger ones that stabbed a guy to death in real life.
In real life?
You ever hear about that?
Um,
One of the Power Rangers from like
No.
the 2004 show had a roommate, and they were like doing samurai sword shit, and he accidentally like stabbed the guy in the chest with a samurai sword and killed him. I don't know if it was
Jeez.
accidental or if it was a straight homicide, but in true Power Ranger fashion, slayed his friend with a fucking samurai sword.
in the name of friendship.
In the name of that's probably what he yelled. He's like, in the name of friendship, and pierced his heart. The guy had like horrible internal and external bleeding. Freaking internal organs are just sliced open, and then the guy's like, "You gotta understand, Rita Repulsa had him brainwashed." The cops are like, "What are you doing, dude? You gotta put down the samurai sword." He's like, "I know kung fu."
You just don't understand, dude. Angel dust. Angel dust.
Angel dust. Dude. I also like how they had to do it racist. Asian chick, Yellow Ranger. Black guy, Black Ranger.
Yeah. It was a different time, I guess.
Different time.
I guess.
Then they added Tommy.
It just
in.
wasn't. It's not long enough for me to not.
I
go,
got a picture
"Mm."
with Tommy the Green Ranger. I went to Comic-Con one time with my mom, and we thought it would be funny to like get pictures with all the celebrities, but instead of paying, just do it from like a safe distance. So I got a picture with Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid, Leonard Nimoy before he passed on.
Oh,
RIP,
damn.
William Shatner. I had.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and these are all like they're like 100 plus feet back, just far enough that security couldn't catch us and we could dip back into the crowd.
Yeah.
And we got pictures with like 30 people, just like a ton of celebrities. Gilbert Gottfried, the voice of the Aflac duck, and also the fucking parrot from Aladdin. Gilbert Gottfried did a lot of shit. But I got a picture with Gilbert. I got a picture with the Karate Kid, Ralph Macchio. Still my favorite. Still want to get a picture with Jaden Smith, the real Karate Kid.
The real one.
We'll never know. Who knows if that'll ever happen.
Maybe someday.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe not. But we'll see.
Is it true that, like, we don't know as much about the, like, depths of our oceans than we do about space? Because that seems like a really stupid fact, because isn't there,
well,
like,
it's because
nearly
if you
infinite
go
space,
down there,
so how
like,
could we not know?
If you go down
more?
there, you'll get compressed to the point, like, we can't get down there. Like, in space, we can shoot out a satellite, and for the most part,
But there's so much shit out there. There's no way we actually know more about space than we do.
I mean,
that
percentage-wise, dude, there's so much shit in space because space is an infinite void.
Yeah.
But information-wise, we probably know more. And a lot of, you know what's interesting? A lot of animals on the bottom of the sea floor have, like, blinding natural light that comes out of them. Like, if we were to see it on the surface, it'd blind us. But if those fish were to go to the surface, they would turn into liquid and die because their bodies are meant to be so compressed. Like,
tons of
like
gravity
if we were to go
the
down
time.
there, we would basically like turn into liquid. Like, but those fish are able to survive down there, so their bodies must just be so dense. Like, I can only imagine if you could actually bring them up here and punch one, it would probably be like punching a fucking dwarf star, dude. That's fucking crazy to think about.
Punching a dwarf star.
Dude, if you punch dwarf star, dude, a fragment out of a dwarf star weighs incalculable amounts, dude. If I was to drop a dwarf star from 10 feet above this house would be fucking flattened. So, dude, like,
oh shit, bro.
but I couldn't drop one because I couldn't get it off the ground. I couldn't get it out of space.
You think
dude.
Superman could grab a dwarf star and drop it on you?
Dude, Superman's the biggest Gary Stew ever, dude. Yes,
I heard
of
that
course he
Superman can only be killed by a supernova. Is this true?
Well, what happened is, I think you're probably referring to All-Star Superman. What happened was he charged himself with a supernova and basically gave him Superman cancer because it's the only way he can fight. I don't remember what he fought because I haven't read All-Star Superman since I was probably in like 8th grade, but he had to fight some fucking shit, and he's like, I need to power up. So he like powered up or like regenerated the earth or some bullshit. Star? So he absorbed the sun. He absorbed a bunch of power from the sun.
What?
Went super powerful, but then he died of Superman cancer.
Superman cancer specifically?
Basically.
Like Kryptonian cancer or some shit?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Basically the closest equivalent because like his cells got so supercharged he couldn't maintain it or some bullshit.
That's weird.
It's comic logic, but I mean you could also kill him with like kryptonite or magic or a bunch of shit in theory. But he's a Gary Stew, so Superman never dies. Really.
Right. Yes.
Doomsday punched him to death.
What?
Doomsday punched him to death. I actually met the guy who I met multiple times, Dan Jurgens, who wrote the Doomsday stuff. He created a bunch of stuff. Like pretty much any movie that comes out nowadays has one of his creations or adapts one of his story arcs. I met him many times. And actually one of those pieces of original art I have in my room, because I got like a full-blown comic page in my room, one of those is actually from him. He drew it completely, and I had him sign it and stuff, and that was kind of cool. But yeah, no, Dan Jurgens, super nice guy. Met him a few times, but he created like Doomsday, who killed Superman at the end of Batman v Superman. The fucking CGI abomination.
Oh, fucking can't stand that
guy.
movie. That movie makes no sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of want to watch it again though now because
I
of
bought
how
the
bad it was.
extended
So I
cut
guess there's
Blu-ray when
that.
I was working at Target.
Does
like
it make
$3.
more sense?
No, it's worse because it's the same boring shit. I
But
was
it
like,
just
maybe it'll
jumps
make
around
more.
so
I'm like,
much.
it'll probably be more boring and longer, but it'll make more sense. No, it makes less sense. It's more boring and it's even longer.
Just more scenes that seem like they need more context.
Yeah.
They just, oh god, I don't know. It's just how much they jumped around. That's all I remember. I just remember
They jumped
barely
around.
being able to follow what was happening.
Yeah,
And
and,
then
it
not
was really
caring.
weird where they didn't establish Batman. They also were like, what if our content for Batman was that, like, he's like super old, and it's like, okay, that's a good concept for like a third movie or something in a universe you're not going to continue. But making your probably arguably, I'd say Batman is more loved than Superman. Probably,
Yeah, probably not as
would probably become more important as a backbone because like Batman is in fucking everything. Batman's related to fucking everything. It's fucking Batman.
Yeah,
and you make him an old guy who's a dick and mischaracterized, and it's like, okay. So that kind of sucked. And then in Justice League, he wasn't much better. The problem with Justice League is no one had characterization. It was far better than Batman v Superman. And then it was two different directors with two completely different ideas, two different tones, and then that was a clusterfuck. And also, like, since they pretty much canceled any future Justice League movies, it's kind of ironic. They're like, oh, we'll do Steppenwolf. It's like, you should have just went all in and did Doomsday, just beat fucking Marvel to the Thanos punch, because Thanos is just a ripoff of Darkseid.
Yeah, they really should have done that, because
They should have just went for
in that
Darkseid.
movie, I did not know.
Darkseid's even got like his gauntlet, except Darkseid is arguably cooler, I would say. Jack Kirby created Darkseid
What's
as well.
the difference? You said they both have like a gauntlet.
They both got a gauntlet, but they're pretty different in power set, but they're pretty similar.
Beings that are
Super
very strong.
beings. Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is like Marvel and DC have a lot of characters that ripped each other off.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much every major character from Marvel and DC, both Marvel and DC have their version of.
Yeah.
Like, Sideways is a more recent example who's just a blatant rip-off of Spider-Man. They're like, yeah, I basically wanted to do Spider-Man at DC. Like, the guy who created him did.
Who is it? What did they call him?
Sideways. He's
Really?
kind of different power-wise, but, like, his idea is the same. He's
can
like a
walk on
teenage
walls.
superhero that is kind of a novice and all that garbage. Apparently, it's kind of cool. I'm probably going to read the graphic novel because I'm interested, because I do like Spider-Man quite a bit. So,
And that's why they do that.
that's why they do it.
Yeah.
So that somebody's like, oh, what the fuck, and reads it.
Fuck it, more Spider-Man.
I'd probably read one and then be like, okay, and then never read it again. But it slightly interests me. I'm slightly interested in it.
Who had Captain Marvel first? Marvel?
Who had Captain Marvel first?
Yeah.
That's a complicated one. That's a very, very complicated one.
Let's
But
dive in.
okay, so Superman comes out in the late 30s.
Right.
Superman's inspired by a bunch of people, but there's a small comic company called Fawcett that created Captain Marvel, which is the one like in the Shazam movie coming out. This is in 1940.
So they weren't attached to either of them
No,
yet.
but they ripped off Superman because everyone was creating Superman
Right.
ripoffs. There's Wonder Man. There's 100 Superman ripoffs that came out at this
That
point.
makes sense. I
Because
did
what
originally
happened
think
was
that he's basically
Superman
Superman ripoff.
made the comic industry super big, and people
Yeah.
were trying to hop in. So at the time, it wasn't just like, there's a bunch of comic companies now that are pretty successful that all kind of do their own thing. Like IDW's mainly like nostalgia, like G.I. Joe, Transformers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network franchises.
Yeah.
They get like old franchises. Dark Horse has a bunch of like indie stories, doesn't really focus as much on superheroes except for like Hellboy and shit. Image does superhero, used to do pretty much exclusively superheroes, which were a lot of like rip-offs of actual companies. Like Wildcats was a rip-off of X-Men because X-Men was hot at the time, but now they do like Walking Dead, a bunch of shit like that. And Marvel and DC are the big boys for the superheroes. But back in the day, everyone's like, okay, there were a bunch of like small publishing companies, a lot of like pulp companies were like, we'll go to comics, and everyone was making a lot of money. And then in World War II, they're like, okay, we'll send all these comics off. This is just a random tangent. Anyways, a lot of people were ripping off Superman, but they're like, Shazam was like the big one because it started outselling Superman for like
Really?
a while. Yeah, because the gimmick was that it was a kid. And
Yeah.
what was big at the time was like Robin came out in like 1939, late 1939. And that was really big. So Batman lightened up. You have like Captain America's got Bucky. And
Yeah.
everybody had their kid sidekick. So they're
Yeah.
like, what if we combine the kid sidekick
Oh,
and
it's
Superman?
all
So
in
now
one
all
thing.
the kids
Yeah.
were like, oh, well, this is Superman, but I could be Superman because I'm the kid. So it was like
Yeah.
a fantasy.
So the kids
play.
were
And
able
at the
to
time,
relate
this
to
is
it
the
more.
40s, and you did have a lot of like Batman and Superman were read a lot by like GIs in World War II overseas and stuff. But kids really like Captain Marvel because they could be Captain Marvel more than
Right.
Superman. Captain Marvel actually had the first superhero movie ever.
What?
Serial. But back in the day, they would do like serials where it was like TV mixed with movies type of deal, where like it was like 15 parts generally was the law, not the law, but what most people would do,
Right.
and each one was like 15 minutes, so it would come together to be like one 3-hour like TV season, or a lot of the times you would just view it as a movie nowadays. Like I got the
Mm-hmm.
DVD for like the original Batman serials. So he becomes bigger, and DC's like, okay, we're gonna sue you because the big thing is he's powerful, he can fly, he's got the cape, he looks like Superman in a
Right.
red jumpsuit basically, because that's what he was.
Yeah.
But they
he
also
just
had the kid
had
aspect.
The kid gimmick, yeah.
And they couldn't get him out till like the late 40s. So basically, like this dude was stealing like a good portion of Superman's sales for a long ass time. So they sued the fuck out of him. Captain Marvel disappears until like the late 60s. DC starts renting out the license to Captain Marvel from Fawcett, which is discontinued. Fawcett also created a lot of the cereal boxes back in the day. So all their comics are weird and misprinted.
Oh,
And shit, because they were printed on cereal box printing presses, rather, which is interesting. An interesting
Yes.
side note.
yes, it is.
But in this time, we have another company come out, and this is just like the biggest piece of shit ever. I actually made a video about this on NTMA Productions, not like the whole Captain Marvel story, but just this guy. This dude like broke his limbs off, and he was an android. Basically, the guy who created the original Human Torch. This isn't the Human Torch from the Fantastic Four, but there was an original Human Torch that was an android.
Okay.
And this dude's like, I'm going to take my concept, except instead of him going on fire, he shoots his limbs out. But the origin story is exactly the same, which I pointed out in the video. Then I looked it up. It turns out it was made by the same guy. And then he's like, I'm going to steal the Captain Marvel name because that hasn't been used in a long time. And he's just ripping characters off. He's like the Bat guy and shit like that. I don't know. I don't remember his name exactly,
Yeah.
but he ripped off like all sorts of characters. Some of them just blatantly had the same name. There was like Dr. Fate, which is a DC character, Plastic Man. And they're like, no, you actually can't do this. So they got sued, and after like a year that was gone. But this gave Marvel saw this and was like, okay, Captain Marvel, we don't want other people using Marvel's name.
Yeah.
So they trademarked Captain Marvel, or they have the copyright. It's either, I think DC has the copyright, but Marvel's got the trademark. So DC can't use Captain Marvel anymore, but the name. Like in the comic, they can call Captain Marvel Captain Marvel.
Right.
On the cover, it has to be called Shazam.
Huh.
In promotional material, it's got to be called Shazam. That's how that works. And so Marvel's like, we'll make our own Captain Marvel, which is something completely different.
Yeah.
Just basically to cock block whoever might try to buy that.
Yeah.
But DC then basically bought it. So the trademark's been really weird since then because they just both kind of share it. And it's funny because both Captain Marvel and Shazam are both getting a movie next year.
There's gonna be a Captain Marvel movie too.
Captain Marvel from Marvel is
Really?
going to have a movie next year or 2020.
Oh
And
my
Shazam,
goodness.
no, it's next year, and Shazam's having their own movie, so that's gonna be interesting.
That is
Because it's the first Captain Marvel movie since the 40s is coming out next year, and there's technically two of them coming out. So
I
that's
definitely
kind of
got a
interesting.
smile on my face for the Shazam trailer when he did the thing.
Yeah, that
You
shit
know,
was
when he said
interesting.
Shazam and the lightning bolt. And
So that's
it made me
one of
happy.
the really interesting ones, and I actually like. I've read a fair amount of original material because Shazam, they had the original Shazam comics. They made these DC archive editions. They're like $50 volumes, and it puts like the original issue in its entirety in this volume, and it's like $50 for 4 issues. But back in the day, comics weren't like 30 pages; they were like 90 pages, and it was like so you got Captain Marvel and his Captain Marvel book might do like 6 adventures, or it would be like 3 adventures and a few backups. For like Robin archives, which I have, it goes through like 15 stories because he was just in a backup panel at that point. But so I read quite a bit of those, and I have read some early Superman, and I actually probably like Captain Marvel better. I think the writing was better, especially later on in the 40s. Like the early Supermans are really different from now, where Superman wasn't fighting like mega guy who shoots a laser in the air. It's like, this is a corrupt politician. Superman's like, I know what I'm gonna do. He jumps over to that bitch because Superman couldn't fly until like the 50s. He'd jump over to that bitch, rip the door down, just like be like, you're caught. And then the guy would go to the electric chair.
Jeez.
Everyone went to the electric chair back in the day. Like there was this one book I remember made an impact on me. It was a World's Finest issue of Batman and Robin, and it was called like The Reformed Criminal, and the guy like reforms, but then he like basically has to like feed his family or something, so he goes into crime again. Then Batman catches him and he goes to the electric chair and he's like, see that, kids? You know what's gonna happen? You're gonna fucking get killed. So even if you can't take care of your family, sucks for you, bro. You're gonna go to the electric chair because Batman and Robin's gonna track your fucking ass down, dude, and kill you. We're gonna kill you. It is nuts, dude. But the guy accidentally like killed somebody or something after he went reformed.
It seems like those old superhero comics had a lot of like ulterior motives and you know, in
well,
mind.
it wasn't a lot of like
It was like
when there were
patriotism and
super
shit.
villains and crap. Oh yeah, well that was a lot of it because
Yeah.
at the time everything was propaganda and like Captain America sold extremely well and was Marvel's like other so Submariner, Human Torch, and Captain America are like the three surviving, but Marvel had a whole line of superheroes, and even like Submariner rarely shows up because he's pretty much been overshadowed by Aquaman, who came out later by the way. But he's King of Atlantis, but he was evil, like he hated Earth. But then, like, he's like, I'm going to team up to fight the Nazis, but I hate...
That sounds
later,
epic!
But at first he was like a villain, but later on he'd, like, team up, so, like, you'd be like, oh, there's a U-boat that's going to kill Captain America, and all of a sudden he'd, like, come out and just, like, kill them all violently.
Dude! Oh, the Atlanteans versus the Nazis, bro.
Yeah,
that's
that
a hell of a matchup right
Dude,
there.
they used to all fight the Nazis. There's a
That's one
comic
for the
where
big screen.
Superman flies up and just, like, catches Hitler.
Hell yes. Dude.
In this, like, I think it's in, like, some weird-ass magazine, like, Penthouse or some shit. It's the original guy, like... Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster wrote out this story where he like comes up and he's just like basically Superman could whip Hitler's ass, and it's like then at the end it was like a propaganda where it's like actually Superman's not real, but we're gonna get Hitler eventually and we're gonna kill his ass. It's like okay,
okay, all right, yeah, war's a thing.
Yeah, so there's actually a lot like that period especially is super interesting to me. Like watch comic book superheroes unmatched. Mm-hmm. Just for like it's a really good documentary. Just I would actually that's what got me into comics because I just randomly watched it and I was like, damn, I want to read a comic book, and then like my autism
and then
fixed,
and then it kept going.
But I would definitely say like the first like third of that goes like super surface level on all sorts of stories. I could also lend you my book History of Marvel Comics, which is where you learn a lot about like early Marvel, and it's just fascinating because like back in the day the industry was way different where the people would be paid no money. Most of the time they didn't even get a credit, and what would happen is like there are stories where they're like, well, deadline's tomorrow, so there would be like 30 people teaming up, and they'd go to like one dude's apartment, just get smashed wasted.
Yeah.
And there's actually a story in the comic book Superheroes Unmatched I really like about they were making like 100-page spectacular or something like a weekend, and they had people like everywhere in the house to the point where somebody literally had a drawing table set up in the fucking bathtub and shit. It was just drawing it out. So
damn,
it's actually super cool. But then all of those guys got completely fucked over.
Yeah, I bet.
But then, like, the same thing, like, the most successful people from the time were, like, Jack Kirby and Joe Shuster, in retrospect. They were, like, the biggest team. And they would go around and they're like, if you can invent a character, you can invent it anywhere. So, like, Captain America they made for Marvel, and then DC got him for a while. So they made the Guardian for DC, which was just the same character as Captain America. And they created... like you could probably dig up like 8 Captain America clones that they created for different companies, their own companies, other companies. So it's actually really interesting. Fighting America is another example of like one that's just
Fighting
blatant.
America. Nice. That's pretty.
And then actually it's funny because so there was this dude in the 90s that did a Captain America run, ended up leaving, continued it as Fighting American, got sued about continuing the run, so he quit Fighting American after he quit, but he still wanted to finish the run. Like, so he continues the Captain America run basically with a different character and just rip-offs of the characters for Captain America. Then he quits that or the company goes under or something, I don't really remember. So he creates his own version and continues the run, and then they're like, we're gonna sue the fuck out of you, so he quit doing that.
He wanted to get his story out there.
But just the series of unfortunate events. So he literally got fired from Captain America or quit Captain America or whatever, went to go to a ripoff to finish his story, and then for whatever reason had to quit that and did his own other ripoff. And it's
got
like, it's
sued.
And got sued.
Nice. How much do you know about the Hulk?
I've never been a huge fan of the Hulk, honestly. But I do know a fair amount about the Hulk.
Like,
the Hulk's always been weird. Because originally the Hulk was like a monster story more than anything, whereas like, oh, the military are trying to get this guy and he can't control his actions. Like, it wasn't really fight supervillains. In like the 70s, it's like the Hulk fights a supervillain. Then they had like Grey Hulk, they've had Hulk join S.H.I.E.L.D., they've had Hulk in space doing gladiator matches, they've had Grey Hulk, which was like intelligent Hulk, but like Hulk was like a gangster. It was weird, dude. It's a lot of weird shit. And there's ones where like Bruce Banner's stuck as the Hulk. Ones where he's like separated from the Hulk. There's so much weird shit with the Hulk. The Hulk's always been weird. Super interesting too.
Did the Hulk always have a thing like where it had like the girl was like the only thing that could like calm him down, kind of like King Kong?
Kind of, sometimes. Betty actually became the Red Hulk, Red She-Hulk eventually.
She-Hulk.
Because there's Red Hulk, She-Hulk, Abomination, A-Bomb. There's like a million Hulks. Red Hulk, She-Hulk, Red She-Hulk.
Red She-Hulk.
Yeah, no, I'm not even kidding, though. There was a comic I read back in the day called Hulks. This is like the late 2000s.
Like the
And it was like the
Flintstones.
Hulks team, where there's like 10 Hulks and they'd all team up and shit.
Just fuck shit up.
And fuck shit
Just
up.
go make craters on planets
Yeah.
and shit. Just literally ruin.
That one I
everything.
remember was kind of interesting.
I can imagine.
I've always been more into, like, I think Spider-Man and Batman have always been my favorites. I've always loved Superman. Certain stories, certain people just wrote Superman where it was like, okay, this is boring, but the people that know how to write Superman can make an interesting Superman story. Because what you got to get them on is you can't make him like fully a perfect person. A lot of it's got to be the mental with Superman, and sometimes you have those big people. He can't fight, or he has to be smart to figure out how to defeat them because they're super powerful. Right. No one else but Superman can beat him, but for some reason he doesn't just call in the Justice League because, you know, that's always funny though. Like Justice League and Avengers are always running, so there's always Justice League and Avengers. It's like, all right, Captain America was chilling with these cats last week. Why can't he call them up now? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there was always that, but you kind of just learn to suspend your.
That's
disbelief.
why I liked the superheroes that were not super OP. You know.
Yeah, I always liked like Batman and.
They had to be a little more creative. Yeah, like that's what
Spider-Man,
Batman was so cool.
Where it was always like low
dude.
key. Like I always tried to get into like team books, even like X-Men and stuff, but I never could as a kid. I was always just like, and
team
Green
spans
Lantern
their moves
kind of
and
became team span
enemy
your
dies.
moves too recently, and I really liked old school Green Lantern. But they're making a new Green Lantern book with Grant Morrison, who did like some of my favorite Batman work ever, and it's like we're gonna do like in interviews and stuff. We don't know much about it yet, but they're like we're just gonna do like a really stripped back Green Lantern book where it's not about like the super wars. It's like what it's like to be like a space cop and balance it with his Earth life. I'm like, that's exactly what I want Green Lantern to be. I don't want Green Lantern to be, all right, 70 Green Lantern guys, let's fight at the 70 blank colored lantern guys.
Yeah, really. It always
it's
just turns
boring
into a
because
whole
that's
bunch
what
of
it
the
was
Green
for the last like
Lanterns
10 years,
fighting
because a
each
lot
other.
of the Green Lantern fans are like, well, actually, they must fight the Yellow Lanterns for the 50th time this year.
Cause
lore, basically. But then the old school Green Lanterns, he'd be like, I fight the Yellow Man, and he can't beat him because he's yellow.
Yeah.
His ring can't kill the yellows.
You told me that like originally their weakness was literally the color yellow.
And the original Green Lantern, Alan Scott in the 40s, this is so long before Green Lantern Corps and stuff, and it's actually technically not related. Everything's really weird, but basically, like, in the 60s, Green Lantern, Flash, Hawkman, a bunch of DC characters kind of got rebooted, because they all kind of went away for, like, a decade, because in the 50s, it was, like, only romance, monsters, and fucking cowboy comics sold. So it was, like, if you're Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, you're good. If you're anything else, you don't exist.
Yeah, nice.
And then, but when they all came back, they all got, like, defined, and even, like, the Green Lantern Corps existed pretty early on, but it was never, like, a huge deal. Like, once in a while, like, another Green Lantern would pop up. But it was more common for him to team up with, like, the Flash than it would be, or Hawkman.
Which sounds more interesting in my
opinion. It is.
opinion.
And that's why I actually really like, the OG shit. And, like, even Flash kind of eventually got that problem. And DC kind of has always been such a legacy company where Marvel was, like, Marvel's got other people that take over temporarily and other people that team up, but Marvel's always been like, these are the characters, they never change. But DC would always try to like reinvent it once in a while. Like in the 90s, again, the characters that were reinvented from like the 60s got switched out. So we had Wally West take over as Flash, Kyle Rayner take over as Green Lantern. Now they're just like side characters that are used once in a while, but less important. And everything got rebooted like 100 times, which... if I tried to go into that, I'd be here all day. I literally could talk all day about like these horrible intricacies, but the point is, it was really like legacy based. So like, then in like the late 2000s, they kind of brought everything back. So you had like Golden Age Green Lantern and Flash were on Justice Society. You had the Silver Age Green Lantern and Flash were now revived in the late 2000s by Jeff Johns. You had you had the 90s ones running around, but they weren't very important anymore. It's like, it was weird, dude. And then they kind of rebooted it, and then everyone's like, well, we want it back like that. So now, like, for, like, the past decade almost now, well, 7 years or so now, it's been rebooted, but now everyone's like, okay, we want to change it back, so they've been slowly trying to change it back, but it's, like, it's crazy. Rebirth is probably the best DC's been in a long time. Marvel's been pretty fucked up lately. I don't even read Marvel anymore. I was never a huge Marvel fan. I was always more of a DC kid,
Spider-Man.
at least comic-wise. Spider-Man's always been my dude.
Is there any older...
yeah. Any
There's
older
possibly sex going on upstairs. Anyways, dog is involved too. Kinky. Anyways,
Okay.
so are there any like older Spider-Man movies that I need to know about, or is that not not really a
God.
thing until?
Yeah, there were some
There are?
70s Spider-Man movies
Oh
from
my
Japan
god!
that have nothing to do with Spider-Man. They're
What?
really fucking weird.
I'm-
I've never seen them, but I've seen like videos.
We
on
need
them,
to
and they're
watch
just so
them.
weird. I'd be down.
That sounds like a good time. I bet they're fucking stupid
Oh,
as
they're
shit.
fucking weird.
Yes, awesome.
It's
Oh my
like
God.
let's just like literally other than the costume have nothing to do with Spider-Man. I don't know, dude. Those shits are weird. Anyways, dude, should we wrap this shit up? I'm getting a little bit
Sure,
tired.
sure. Fuck
But
it.
so yeah, that was our
That was
podcast. We talked about comics, weddings, homeless people,
Wiping our ass.
wiping our ass.
Mhm.
So yeah, we'll be back next time.
Bye bye.
Peace out.